What's up, Model FAs? David DeCelle here, CEO of Model FA and your host of the Model FA podcast. And I am pumped to bring to you Matt Mossburger with WealthFeed today. He's one of the co-founders over there alongside Rylan. And if you have not heard of WealthFeed yet, with all due respect, you might be living under a rock. They've been taking the industry by storm, and a lot of our clients have subscribed to their system. And today we're going to learn about Matt's background, how he got into this industry in the first place, where WealthFeed was born and how it came about, and some of the things that they're seeing from a front end marketing and business development standpoint that could be helpful to all of you. But with that said, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, David. Been looking forward to this for a while now, and appreciate the kind words.
Let's rock. So we've done some work together. You have a discount for our people, which I very much appreciate. We've done some webinars together. We got some more collaboration on the horizon. But all that aside, for now, how'd you get started? You went to school, you graduated. What did you do first? Walk us through your
Yeah,
journey.
yeah, happy to. No, and great to meet everyone, and thanks to everyone for tuning in and listening. But Matt Mossbarger, one of the co-founders of WealthFeed. My background isn't probably too surprising given the space that we're in today. But both myself and my two co-founders all spent about 5 years building books of business within the wealth management industry. So out of college, joined up with JP Morgan's private bank, spent a couple of years down in DC, and then a few years on their financial institutions group team in New York. So my niche was, or my focus was really focusing on, hedge fund, private equity, and venture capital partners, both some fund-based business and also their personal assets. So spent time in the space, saw some of the struggles with organic growth and how difficult it can be to get in front of a recurring audience that's suitable for your practice, and figured, there's got to be a better way. And lo and behold, WealthFeed was built. So happy to kind of touch on some more industry trends, but hopefully that's a good enough background on me.
Yeah, so you were in the space for 5 years, and then was Wealth Feed like a late at night conversations with your co-founders? Was it over lunch? Like, how'd you meet
Yeah.
them? Were they at JP Morgan? Were they somewhere else? Like, where I want to get to know like the garage talk, so to speak, of
Yeah.
Wealth Feed.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I met my co-founder Rylan, or one of my two co-founders, at JP Morgan before he ended up going independent. And then our other third co-founder, Sam, he came from the RIA channel as well. So, in that regard, we all kind of came from different pockets of the industry, and we all targeted different types of clients and prospects, but we all related on one point, which was again, the struggle of finding high quality prospects at scale. We all were doing kind of different things to get in front of new business. But the one commonality we noticed across the board was that prospecting really wasn't random. And there always typically was a precursor that would lead a prospect to booking an appointment with us. Those precursors were, generally speaking, catalyst events or life events or money in motion events, whatever you want to call them. We refer to them as catalyst events on our platform, since some of them truly do bring money into motion. Others just bring financial planning and money top of mind. But what we were doing is trying to identify those catalyst events at scale using quite a few public databases that I'm sure everyone on this call is probably familiar with. But the world of data can get messy at times, and there's bad data out there, and it was super inefficient the way we were going about it. So we said, let's build a business around this, because we could really help and support a lot of advisors if we kind of solve this problem of getting in front of high quality prospects. So that was really the garage talk. And then once we assembled the team that could make that all possible, since the three of us don't have any tech backgrounds, it was kind of smooth sailing from there.
So I do want to ask about some of those beginning stages, but first, Sam, if you're listening to this, I apologize for leaving you out in my opening, but I have not had the pleasure yet of meeting with you. I've met with Rylan and Matt plenty of times, so looking forward to hopefully meeting you soon. But so that was going to be my question: is you have some advisors who are looking to build a tech company, presumably not a ton of tech knowledge and how to build a platform like WealthFeed. So what'd you do? Did you hire people? Did you convince people, to work for free in exchange for anything? Or like how did you assemble a team of people that could actually build what you've
Yeah.
built?
Yeah, well, I'm probably doing our fourth co-founder a disservice, but he's a tech more of a technical co-founder. He kind of sits in between our true tech engineers and the business development team. But his name is Brian, and he comes from an AI consulting background. So he helped assemble a team of rock stars to really make it possible. But no, we did go out and raise some capital. Since tech hands can be expensive, obviously,
Hmm.
but we did end up hiring a team of engineers. So we have I think up to five now that are super savvy in both the development space, but also the big data space. So we're pulling in quite a few different data from quite a few different data sources and feeds. But again, a lot of that is over my technical knowledge. So you have to have Brian on the next one to
Fair.
go into detail.
So let's talk about these catalysts. So one thing that I used to coach advisors on back when it worked way better than it does now, which is LinkedIn. Now LinkedIn, you just need to have a very long-term mindset and strategy for LinkedIn to work because previously, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could connect with someone, message someone, book a meeting with someone, and now it's just become so noisy that it takes a lot more effort to be able to stand out and convince someone to actually meet with you. Not to say it doesn't work, but it's not as easy as it once was. But one of the things that I would coach people on is doing a search for someone who's been in their working career for more than 10 years, but in their at their current company for less than a year. Because what that would tell me is that they've had 9+ years to accumulate wealth in a 401k. They're new at their new company and they're unlikely to have rolled it into their new 401k, unlikely to roll it into an IRA, and it's probably just sitting out there. So therefore there's a rollover opportunity. And by and large, that's really the only money in motion catalyst that you could find leveraging the filters on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
What are some of the other catalysts that you guys focus on that you found has worked really well?
Yeah, no, David, that the job changer one is definitely one of our most popular. So we're pulling in that data feed as well, and you could search by event date. So if you wanted to strictly focus on individuals that have just changed jobs in the last year or last month, you totally can do so. Same with promotions. Maybe they are taking on a new role that brings them into a higher income range. But some of the other ones that are a little less obvious, at least in terms of utilizing the tool sets out there like LinkedIn are maybe a little bit more life event focused. So, one of the first ones we kind of nailed down, just given all the talk about the great wealth transfer out there with trillions of dollars getting passed down year over year, was, that of the inheritance catalyst. So we're looking at, individuals that are likely to come into assets as sort of the next of kin or via, spousal inheritances. So that's been a fairly popular one just because everyone's been talking about how much of a, threat it could pose to their the future state of their business. Not a lot of firms are really talking about the solutions or what to do with that knowledge. So WealthFeed's able to identify individuals coming into assets via inheritances. We're looking at retirement ages as another one. So when are individuals reaching that inflection point, 59 and a half, they can start pulling from retirement accounts penalty free. Great prospects to talk about things like Social Security or RMD implications with. We're pulling in other ones like individuals just getting married or maybe just having a firstborn child where there might be some 529 planning considerations or trust and estate planning considerations to be talked through with an advisor. We pull in things from SEC documents and Form 4 filings like capital raises, individuals selling down insider shares, individuals selling businesses. Those are some of the more true liquidity events that we aggregate. And then just the final two, um, since we made it this far, we also pull in new movers and then also individuals that are separating from spouses. Those are two other pretty popular ones. New movers because obviously wealth management is such a relationship-based business that people do prefer to meet their financial advisor or their insurance agents in person. So that's been a popular one. And then the recent separations, I think the statistic is like 75% of divorcees end up finding a new financial advisor or splitting their relationship into two So that's been a very popular one that a lot of our users are focusing on as well. So all in all, it's 11 different catalyst events. And then from there on the WealthFeed platform, you could really drill down by those catalysts and find more profile-based data. So you could find individuals of certain net worth ranges, income ranges. You could focus on property detail information, some demographic information like age or gender of the prospect, and then even some experience-based filtering too, like industry or the company that the individual works at or their job title. Anything that's going to help an advisor really hone in on their niche is what WealthFeed's focused on building for them.
So, so all that sounds great, and I'm thinking of my own circumstances. So about a year and a half ago, my wife and I bought a house. Okay, so we were a new mover catalyst event, as we would pop up in your system, and we definitely ended up on some sort of list because for the following 30 days, we probably had someone knock on our door every single day for the entire
Mhm.
month trying to sell something, right?
Mhm.
So, with that in mind, my question to you is someone chooses the catalyst that they want to target. Someone chooses all the other criteria such as age and income range, net worth range, location, all that type of stuff. How are you guys suggesting? Because that's just a list of names.
Right.
How are you guys then suggesting that the advisor goes and reaches out and cuts through the noise of presumably these folks getting reached out again in that new mover example? But how
Yeah.
does the advisor kind of stand out
Yeah.
when they reach out?
Yeah, definitely $1 million question because standing out in a sea of outreach is definitely challenging. What we believe in and what we coach a lot of our advisors on is that timing is everything. And so for some of these catalyst events, it might make more sense to let some of the dust settle and not be in these prospects' inboxes or at their front door immediately following that event. And so that's why we offer that date filter. So you can really focus on what month or how many months have gone by since the event in question.
Mm,
Um, but all of our coaching is related to really right time, right place outreach. So, in today's day and age, there's a ton of publicly available and accessible information out there, but that doesn't mean it should be used intrusively. So what we suggest is use it to find your target. Don't use it to, over solicit or close the business necessarily. You wouldn't really approach it any differently. You're just honing in on a new target based on the data available to you. So just as you would any other prospect, you'd reach out, introduce yourself, maybe suggest some areas of expertise that you know are very pertinent given that underlying event. And that's kind of the art behind it. The example I always give, and then I'll stop rambling on this topic. But the example I always give is, many years ago, the retailer Target, they did a lot of marketing to individuals and shoppers that they thought were new parents. The way they determined that was based on their spending activity, and it actually rubbed some new parents the wrong way because it was clear that Target was analyzing their spending. So what they instead started to do was instead of just promoting baby products to those likely to be new parents, they were promoting baby products mixed in with very unrelated products. So it wasn't so in your face, I'm analyzing your spending. And that's what we suggest with our advisors as well. So again, mention a couple topics where you're an expert, and have a couple of them, not all of them, be very relevant given the underlying life event. Does that kind of answer your question, David?
it does. And to be clear, let's say like I have a couple clients that specialize in working with divorcees or people in the midst of a divorce. And what you're saying is you wouldn't reach out and say, "Hey, I know you just went through a divorce and I work with those people," but instead, hey, wanted to introduce, I'm making this up, but hey, wanted to introduce myself. We do a lot of work in the wealth management space, helping retirees, divorcees, business owners help make sense of their financial picture and just kind of like weave it into the sandwich, so to speak, as you articulate it to them.
Exactly, exactly. When you're messaging again those areas of expertise, that's the exact way to do it. And then from a targeting perspective, because we always coach advisors on getting targeted rather than casting too wide a net, establishing some common ground with those prospects is also pretty critical and important too. So in the case of that new mover scenario that you gave, obviously those advisors, if they're knocking on your door, they're likely to be local. That's one way advisors take it. Other ways is again to reach out to people that work at a certain company whose RSU schedules they specialize in or benefit plans they know super well. So finding some area to relate to these prospects on is kind of the second side of the coin to stand out, making sure that that prospect doesn't feel like they were just picked up in some mass marketing campaign, but that they were targeted based on some sort of qualification.
Hmm. So, in working with advisors myself, I would say the highest, you know, conversion rate and probably the easiest sales cycle to bring someone through is when they came from a referral from a client or a COI. And when you're doing more, for lack of a better way to put it, mass marketing, albeit more targeted marketing to a cold audience, those conversion rates are a lot less. And your sales process, frankly, starts more so with an awareness process to begin before you have the opportunity to bring them through your sales process, before you have the opportunity to actually advise them in an ongoing fashion. So, what have you seen with the advisors that you have on your platform that has worked really well from an awareness standpoint to catch their attention and ultimately drive them to a meeting? Like, what are some of those steps involved after you filter and have your list? Like, what is next?
Yeah. Yeah, again another $1 million question. I might say that a lot because these are all really good thought out questions. But we've seen a couple things work, and it definitely depends on the advisor's skill set too, David, and their focus. So it might be different based on a particular advisor's areas of expertise. But generally speaking, what we find works the best is certainly a multi-channel approach to your outreach. So you wouldn't stick to just door knocking in the example you gave a little bit ago, or you wouldn't stick to just email marketing, but some combination of email, direct mail, calling, maybe LinkedIn messaging as well is always going to result in more success, just given the prospects will have seen you across different avenues, and they'll likely think that you're more relevant as an advisor than you probably are. Not to say that your listeners aren't relevant, but the more times they see your face and your name and your brand, the more relevant they'll think you are. The other thing that we always kind of suggest to advisors in that outreach is, again, not to over solicit. Make the initial yes easier. So instead of offering something that is going to require the prospect to commit a lot of time, just make it a very simple 15-minute initial conversation, free portfolio audit, free second opinion, something to get it to the point where it's really easy for them to say yes. Obviously, before you start managing someone's money, you really do need to develop a long-standing relationship with that individual, or one that could become a long-standing relationship. So to try to oversell via LinkedIn or even on an initial phone call is just going to waste kind of everyone's time. Get them to say yes to an initial meeting and conversation first, and then hopefully smooth sailing from there once you get them in the door.
What about, can you speak to, because I really like the approach, the initial approach of sending a handwritten note. Um, However, writing 100 handwritten notes in a month, because frankly, you need that level of volume when you're reaching out to a cold audience to get an ROI on your time and dollars. You need to have higher volume. That's not really doable, to write 100 handwritten notes every single month, or at least not sustainable. Um, what have you guys done to solve for that? Because I know you guys have that feature.
Yeah, yeah. So when we were advisors, we, to your exact point, just because we didn't have the bandwidth, we only would send out handwritten stuff when it was to a client or a very warm prospect. But we heard from a couple of our early adopters who were sending out direct mail as an initial touch point in the form of handwritten notes. So we built out a system where once you've identified prospects via the WealthFeed platform, with just a couple clicks of the button, you could save down handwritten note templates that get put together with real pen, blue ink, hand stamped, hand signed. The advisors get to customize their copy that they want included on those notes, but they're designed to be very short and sweet, and they do make for a really good introduction. So we feel like gone are the days where people are really spending the time to send out handwritten notes. So it does tend to stick out, and we've seen a lot of success from our user base when they started with those notes and then followed those notes up a couple weeks later with just a follow-up call or a follow-up email just to check in and see if they've got that note in the mail, which of course they have.
Hmm.
But yeah, great question. Direct mail, specifically those handwritten notes, since it looks like the advisor took the time to write it, they've worked really well for our users.
Yeah, because I know, again, I just try to put myself in the shoes of these people that are being reached out to. And when I go get my mail, any of the postcard looking things or flyers, just I never look at them. But there's been a couple instances where I've seen a handwritten note and I was like, oh, who's this from? And I see it and it's someone soliciting something. And I'm like, oh, they got me. But
Yeah.
what they're missing is a maybe the service isn't relevant to me at the time, so I didn't proactively reach out. But B, there's no follow up,
Mhm.
right? Where if they followed up, I at least say, oh yeah, I did get that handwritten note, and now I'm in a conversation with them. So I found that so Jason Berube has done a great job dialing in his process. I have a client, Ryan Langan, who's done a really good job as well, where his handwritten note, if I'm not mistaken, has a QR code on it that he can track kind of who scanned it, and it sends them to a landing page, and he's very much targeting people in his tight knit community. So on his landing page, it's a video that says, hey, I'm Ryan. I live right here in XYZ along with you. If you're getting or if you're watching this video, you probably got my note. And it's like hyper personalized and really well done.
Yeah.
So my question is, what have you seen works best in terms of handwritten note is sent? You need to give it a week or two to ensure that they actually got it because snail mail just takes a while
Yeah.
to go. What do you notice as best practices in terms of like an email as the next step, a phone call as the next step, either or? Like I'm trying to give the listeners a sense of like best practices once the list is identified and the handwritten note is sent out.
Yeah. And again, just to caveat, it totally might depend on the advisor's skill set again, where some might not be super eager to pick up the phone and call, and some might, generate really good, well-written emails. And so this could vary, but one of the probably most reliable workflows, which Jason has been so kind in helping us kind of curate, has been that handwritten note, waiting 7 to 10 business days if you're using the WealthFeed platform to make sure that that note arrives in the mail. um, Making sure there's some form of call to action in that note. So if they wanted to, they can pick up the phone and call Jason or you right away. But if they don't, then either email or LinkedIn next, probably either one, followed by the phone call last. So most businesses is done, not digitally, but on an actual human to human conversation or a Zoom call. So saving that step kind of for the end once they've seen your name and brand a few different places is probably going to lead to the most success we found.
Sweet.
But yeah, those QR codes are, super cool too, because we have a lot of users that'll custom create those to be specific to the campaign they're running. Some are, inviting prospects to dinners or, golf outings or webinars. And so then that custom QR code will navigate them to that RSVP link. Some people do, Calendly's or their schedulers. Some people just do their LinkedIn URL that they'll link that QR code to. On the Wealthy platform, you can pick and choose whichever URL you want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would also venture to say too that in order for this to really work well, you also need to, not saying that you can't get results if you don't do this, but you also need to be doing a decent amount of content on your social platforms, because if they're the least bit interested, they may scan the QR code, sure, but they'll probably Google you and um, check you out. And if all you have is a website and nothing else to interact with, that may not be good. I'd also encourage folks as they're sending out emails to have some sort of downloadable piece that they can interact with and get value from. You alluded to this before about like a portfolio review or something of the sorts. We call those give to get offers. You're giving something of value to be able to get their time and perhaps some additional information to do that analysis. To basically just do something that doesn't require a lot of work for you because you don't want to bog yourself down with free work, but is also super valuable to them. And then the conversation is basically like, great, that's just one thing we do. You wanna keep going. So I love the idea of integrating some sort of give to get offer along the way as like a no obligation sort of, which I don't like the term no obligation to like actually be spoken to a prospect
Mhm.
because it kind of sounds salesy, but in your mind, having something that's no obligation to them can ethically trick them to hang out with you, get value
Yeah,
in return for that, but give you an opportunity to build a relationship beyond, a handwritten note, email, LinkedIn message, but actually have a conversation with them.
totally. Yeah, totally. That's a question we get, very often is because WealthFeed really is at the end of the day, a data aggregator and a list builder. We do streamline the outreach process for a lot of our advisors, and we're bringing some content to the platform here very soon. But today we get that question all the time. Great, you found me my prospects. What should I send them? And that's where we're working with obviously you, David, and the Model FA team and the exchange community can really benefit them. But yeah, we are bringing some content to the platform very soon, so you can actually streamline LinkedIn posting. You could streamline email campaigns with curated content directly through the platform as well. But yeah, that's a really good point.
And what other integrations do you have at this point?
Yeah, so we have a couple. We obviously plug into over a dozen different data sources and data vendors that we integrate with on the back end to make the platform look like what it is today. But from a CRM standpoint, we make it really easy for advisors to export all this data to their local CRM. We integrate with five right now, so Salesforce, Redtail, Practify, Wealthbox. Um, the fifth is escaping me, but you could also just export to an Excel file or a CSV file and upload it to your CRM if you wanted to. WealthFeed does have some CRM capabilities, so you could leave notes on profiles, add tags to profiles to make your database super organized and sortable. And then we're also integrated with LinkedIn, like I mentioned, so you can actually send out LinkedIn connection requests and messages through WealthFeed. And we're bringing in a really neat email marketing tool here very soon called Advisor Stream. So what Advisor Stream has access to is north of 3,000 FINRA approved campaigns that you could actually spin up directly from WealthFeed to these prospects that you're finding within the platform. And then, finally, just, an integration that we recently kind of launched and take a lot of pride in and, like to share is our liquid net worth estimator. So the way we're deriving, because a lot of advisors we know focus on a sort of a sweet spot from a size perspective, even in our case, our three co-founders, we all focused on different markets from an investable net worth perspective. We picked and found, one of the best data providers in this category. It's a Fortune 500 company that's huge in the proxy statement, brokerage statement, and trade confirm space. So they're looking at actual brokerage holdings, not even including cash. So our liquid net worth estimates tend to run conservative now, as opposed to maybe previously when we were aggregating total net worth via one of our data vendors. Now it's super refined. So that's just a pseudo integration or data partnership that I like to kind of mention as well.
Well, it's cool too to see um, since we first met, you guys have added a lot of new features. You've enriched your data even better than what it was. Like it seems like from the outside looking in, at least, that you guys are constantly trying to refine and improve and get better. Um, you're also really good at listening to your clients that you work with and taking their feedback and running with it to implement it to make their lives easier in this process. So it's cool from the outside looking in, how open you guys are to feedback, and you're big enough to have a meaningful impact on the industry, but you're also small enough to be able to make those pivots. And it doesn't take, 2 years to do it. You
Sure.
can do it in 2 weeks to 2 months, depending on what it is.
For sure. Yeah, no, appreciate you saying that. We're always trying to move quick and bring the most important updates, enhancements, and new features to the platform based on popular demand from our user base. So appreciate that recognition.
Awesome, dude. Well, this has been great. I think I wanted this episode to be short and sweet and to the point for folks who have yet to come across WealthFeed. So before we wrap up, where can they go? Honestly, we had done this a while ago, so I forget if it's like 10 or 15% discount with our discount code. So can you share what that is and where they go to enter that?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So to sign up or to learn more or to book a demo, you just navigate to wealthfeed.com. There are links all throughout that website. My name is Matt Mossburger. My email is matt@wealthfeed.com. So feel free to, email me. And then the discount's actually 20% off, David. So, north
Oh,
of the 10 and 15 you mentioned, but
even
that
better.
promo, yeah, that promo code can be shared with you. Do you typically share these on the podcast, David, or do you want just to kind of send those out on like a reverse inquiry basis? Totally
Yeah,
up to you.
just
But
yeah, just so we can make sure they are affiliated with us. Maybe have them reach out and just they can drop the fact that they heard you on the Model FA podcast,
perfect.
and then you can apply the discount code.
Awesome. Yeah, it's 20% off our annual subscription fee, and it's indefinite too. So if you signed up under that discount code, it's 20% off that fee. Um, but yeah, would love to have you. Would love to work with you, and really appreciate your time, David. And thanks for having me on.
Likewise, dude. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and for everyone tuning in, appreciate your time and attention, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you.